everyone, this is Captain Raven with the gaming news for today, in which we will discuss three topics, three important things that happened in the gaming world in the last few days, because I think more topics would make this show too long. So let's get started. The first topic that I chose to discuss with you is the living story update for Guild Wars 2, which is part of a larger update in general for the game. And yeah, those of you who play MMOs probably know this or would agree that the thing that makes MMO worlds, which are usually very large, the thing that makes these worlds alive are the players. But the NPCs and the quests and all of that usually don't bring that much life into the world. You may of course have funny characters and everything, but they seldomly walk around, and the world doesn't really change on a regular basis. So, which kind of makes sense, because if you want to farm in a specific area and that area gets obliterated, where do you farm now? Even though I think that would be a cool idea. Well, anyway, what ArenaNet is planning with Guild Wars 2 and the living story thing is, as far as I got it, exactly that. So they're thinking of a larger story arc that they want to bring about with Guild Wars 2, and it's going to pan out over several weeks and months, and there will be several quests that I think the first quests where you can find them, they take place in let me look this up real quick. Some of the starting areas, which you don't really have to be a level 80 character to play these new quests. In the Wayfarer Foothills and the Diessa Plateau, which is and the Shiver Peaks, which are three areas which characters around level 20 should be able to visit and take part in the quest, I think. Yeah, and it's what's happening right now in these three areas is that there are refugees coming down and running away from something terrible, and you don't really know what that is, so it's just a little teaser. But in the coming weeks and months, ArenaNet are planning to pan out this great story, which they say will change Tyria, the world that Guild Wars 2 takes place in, quite significantly. So I'm really excited for this. So I haven't seen a third of everything that the game has to offer, and I put 170 hours into the game, so that's really something. We'll see how it plans out. I'm really happy that Guild Wars 2 is doing so good, and even though it was not the World of Warcraft killer that everybody expected it to be, but you know, I don't think that anything can kill World of Warcraft except maybe World of Warcraft 2 or whatever that Titan project is that Blizzard has up its sleeve. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. The second topic for today is the PlayStation 4, which is not quite yet officially announced, is going to be announced on February the 20th. So just a few days to wait, and then we'll see what's up with the PlayStation 4, whether it will be called PlayStation 4. There's a YouTube video showing not really showing anything, but it's kind of like a trailer teaser thing, and that's called #PlayStation 2013. So will the new console be called PlayStation 2013? And if it would be called like that, is it a good idea? I have no idea. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors flying around the room with the PlayStation 4. There's supposed to be a new kind of controller, which on one hand shouldn't be too different from the old 6-axis and DualShock controller, but at the same time it's supposed to be something new. That's about everything people know right now about the controller. My guess would be that that Sony is looking at the PS Vita and maybe putting in some touch screen, or not necessarily a touch screen, but a touchpad support into the controller, which could make for some interesting things when you play your PlayStation games. And I'm really interested to see whether they'll stick with the placement for the analog sticks, or whether they'll adapt to the Xbox 360 thing of putting the left analog stick where the D-pad would be and putting the D-pad where the left analog stick would be. So yeah, and of course whether they'll keep their old D-pad, because I think that's the best thing about the controller, definitely. Otherwise, the specs of the new console are supposedly be what early development kits are supposed to be like. 8 GB of system memory, which is alright, I guess, but nothing too extreme. But it's enough, I guess. So, video memory would be 2.2 GB, which is that's pretty good. That's kind of like 2 good middle class graphics cards, I'd say, or 1 really top end graphics cards, which you would need for a new console, which is supposed to, I don't know how long this console generation lasts or lasted until now, but you see the new PlayStation 4 is definitely has to last for at least 10 years, probably more, so they need a lot of video memory. There's a 4-core. What? That doesn't make sense. It's a 4X dual-core AMD Bulldozer CPU, so that means 8 cores. Alright, I think I get it. And 4 USB 3.0 ports and 2 Ethernet ports. This is pretty normal, nothing special with this, but always nice to see USB ports there. It's still a Blu-ray drive because we don't have Red Ray or something new, so that's cool. And well, these development kits had a 160 gigabyte HDD, so I don't know whether that will be the amount of space you will have on the final console that you can buy, because I imagine 160 gigabyte could be alright for. I have to admit, I don't have a console, so I cannot really say too much about this. But 160 gigabytes seems like quite not so much space for today's games. When I look at games like, okay, Guild Wars 2 is an MMO, but it takes up 20 gigabytes of space. There are other games that take up a lot of space. I have no idea how big the Final Fantasy games are, but seeing that they always have a huge amount of cutscenes and voice acting and all of that, I imagine that they take up quite a lot of space, so we'll see about that. But you can be sure that there will be several different versions of the PlayStation 4 which you can buy. This is I can almost guarantee that, so you could probably put down 50 euros more and get, I don't know, a 250 gigabyte HDD. Yeah, we'll see. February the 20th will be the announcement. I'll put a link to the YouTube teaser trailer from Sony down in the description or somewhere in the annotations. And yeah, check that out. The third topic for today, and our final topic, is an interesting article on Rock Paper Shotgun, in which they interviewed or talked to the developers of Sins of a Dark Age, and also, which is, I have to admit, I never heard of Sins of the Dark Age, but the same developer also did the, let me think, this great preparation that I'm showing here. Was it Sword of the Stars? No, it was Sins of a Solar Empire, which sounds almost the same, but it's a different game. Yeah, Sins of a Solar Empire and Sins of a Dark Age, made by Ironclad. And the developers of Ironclad said that, in their opinion, the RTS genre, the real-time strategy genre, is dying. And the MOBA genre needs to evolve. So their new game, which I said Sins of a Dark Age, is was in development for quite a while now, and they said they put down a lot of money to kind of change around the ideas of that game. And it was supposed to be some kind of a real-time strategy game in which you could also play a hero, something like an RPG thing, and well, it was kind of supposed to be a blending between RTS and MOBA. So kind of interesting, but they said it didn't work out. It wasn't fun to play. It was really hard to balance the thing out. So now they're moving on to the MOBA theme completely and ditching the RTS part, which is so sad in my opinion, because we have so many MOBA games, and really there are about two that succeed, and those two naturally being League of Legends and Defense of the Ancients, so Dota 2. These two games are so successful, it is unbelievable. And of course you have some smaller games like Awesome Noughts or Smite from the same developers like that did the Tribes games, which do have their fans, and I think those games have their fans because games like Awesome Noughts, for example, they mix up the MOBA formula. So this is kind of like the thing that the developers, that Ironclad are saying the MOBA needs to evolve. I would agree with that, because I know that there are differences between League of Legends and Dota, being that Dota, it seems to be a bit more competitive with the denying thing and all of that. But well, I hope I don't upset too many people with this, but look at MOBA games. It seems to be one map which is almost identical across several games, and it's quite hard for those games to bring up new maps, because people would have to adjust to these new maps. And it's kind of like, I feel like it's a bit like with Counter-Strike 1.6, which is many people have very dear memories of, and really don't want to see they don't want to see CS 1.6 go away. And so yeah, that kind of tends, those people tend to bash on the new Counter-Strike games, just like people that love Dota, even in its Warcraft 3 form, wouldn't like to see a new map, because that's not the true Dota thing. So yeah, I think it's really hard for MOBAs to evolve, because people got so used to this formula. But still, I think there's a lot of room for evolution in that genre. It's not a genre that really clicked for me, which I think is very sad, because League of Legends and Dota are definitely quality games, and there's a whole lot of production value behind those games. But for some reason it just doesn't click with me. I like Awesome Noughts, and that is much more action oriented, and not so much a RPG, but more like a game that started out as a MOBA game and works pretty well for me. So I would like to see how this genre evolves. But on the topic of Ironclad claiming that the real-time strategy games are dying, their argument was, yeah, well, there's Company of Heroes 2, which is, we don't really know how it will do, and it has a lot of non-RTS elements, which I would agree, which even though I don't know too much about Company of Heroes 2, but I know the first game wasn't a really classic RTS game with you had base building in Company of Heroes 1, but I think you don't have base building in Company of Heroes 2. I don't really know. So yeah, but well, that's the thing. The real-time strategy games are evolving in that direction, and they are not dying. We have a lot of strategy games with no base building, and people like those. People love those. Look at the Warhammer games. Look at Company of Heroes. Even Ironclad's own Sins of a Solar Empire game has its fan base, and that fan base is not really small, so to say. And of course, the elephant in the room is StarCraft 2, which is doing pretty good in the esports scene, and people love StarCraft 2. And yeah, the argument of Ironclad on StarCraft 2 was, yeah, well, it's an anomaly. So that is not really an argument in my opinion. That's just a cop-out. So StarCraft 2 is doing pretty well, and I don't know, maybe you can leave it in the comments. What other games do you know that are like StarCraft 2 in the sense that they're traditional RTS games with base building and are actually good? For some reasons, the developers and companies stopped making those games, which I think is really sad. Which is I might have a rose tinted glass, my rose tinted glasses on here with the old Command and Conquer games, but I really loved the newer Command and Conquer games like Red Alert 3 and the Tiberium Wars games. Let's not talk about Tiberium Twilight, that would be another topic altogether. But, well, those games were great, but because of EA and not patching those games to a point that they would have become a viable competitive esports game, those games sadly died down. And since that time, I haven't seen a good RTS game in a while, because I haven't seen an RTS game at all. So besides Blizzard doing StarCraft, there are not that many companies doing traditional RTS games with base building and kind of that formula. Even though I think people would love to play these games as long as they are done in a good way. Supreme Commander did astonishingly good, even though the second game wasn't that well received for obvious reasons, because it didn't work on the strong points of the first game. So yeah, in my opinion, there's still a lot of space for traditional RTS games, and also for RTS games that try to mix up the formula and try to do something new. And I would like to see a game that mixes up RTS and MOBA style, if it does this right and pays its respects to both genres and can make fans of both genres be happy. So yeah, we'll see how that works out, but in my opinion, Ironclad are just, I'm sorry to say, but they're douches, and they're trying to jump on the money train because everyone and their mother is doing MOBAs right now. But I can almost assure you that whatever they're doing, as long as they try to sell it as a MOBA, it will get an initial reaction from people, but it will die down very quickly. Because if you want to do a MOBA, you have at least to try to be better than Dota or League of Legends, and good luck with that. So we'll see how that works out. That's it from me for today. I hope you have a great weekend. Don't party too hard tonight, and I'll see you all again next time.